Pilates is a really great workout to do on the road. But before you do a Pilates workout, if you're not familiar with Pilates, I want to show you just a couple basics. And then if you want to jump into the workouts on the YouTube channel, you can do that. But it's nice to know some of the basics if you haven't done Pilates. So we're going to talk about the Pilates breath first. If you've done yoga, you breathe from the belly. So that's that yoga breathing, and it's usually in through the nose, out through the nose, unless you're doing another pranayama breath technique, or there's some reason, maybe a sinus infection, that you can't breathe through the nose. In Pilates, you want the breath to come out quicker because some of the movements are quicker. So you want to actually breathe in through the nose, still filtering the air, and out through the mouth. Again, if possible. If there's a reason that you cannot do that, that's okay, as long as you're breathing. We do want you to be breathing. So let's do a couple Pilates breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. The other thing before we get started with these breaths is, I mentioned that yoga is belly breathing, right? Well, we're working the core in Pilates. So we want the belly to actually be engaged and all the core muscles to be engaged. That makes it hard to expand and contract the core as we're breathing. So Pilates breathing is different in that we're breathing out the mouth. It's also different in that we are filling up more of the upper area. So we're really breathing into the top portion of the lungs and the whole lung instead of really filling up the bottom portion of the lungs. So as we're breathing, we want to think about our rib cage expanding front and back as well as side to side. So making our rib cage as big and expanded as we possibly can to get as much oxygen as we possibly can take in. A great way to practice this is to breathe up, reaching the hands up, breathe out, reaching the hands down, and think about expanding the ribs. So we're going to do 3 of those Pilates breaths. So let's inhale, breathe up, expanding the ribs, exhale out the mouth. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, really expand that rib cage. If you've done yoga, this does feel different. Exhale through the mouth. 1 more time, inhale. And exhale. So if possible, during your Pilates practice, that's how you want to breathe. Another thing about Pilates is we're trying to engage our entire core. So we're going to start with what we call Mula Bandha in yoga. That's Sanskrit for root lock, and that is just locking down our deep core muscles. So if you're sitting like me, you can feel the base of your spine on the ground, and there's a little triangle of muscles at the base of your spine that should be sitting right on the ground right now. So those muscles are what we want to contract up and away from the floor as we do the Pilates core contraction. So right here, just contract the muscles that you're sitting on up and away from the floor. Ladies, you might know this as a Kegel exercise. Men, I've been told that this is the feeling you get when you get into a pool of cold water. Never been there, I don't know, but that is what other men have told me. So I'm gonna go with that since I've never had that experience. So again, we're just contracting the muscles up and away from the floor. Men and women do have the same muscle structure. So the anatomy is a bit different, same muscle structure. So we're just contracting up and away from the floor. Most of our Pilates exercises, we're going to be lying down. So we want to practice this contraction while we have something to compare it to, the floor, and then pulling up and away. Get that feeling, so then when we're lying down on the mat actually doing Pilates, we can engage that Mula Bandha or that root lock. All right, so now that we have found our root lock or our Mula Bandha, we're going to talk about really where the abdominal muscles all come together here. So we're really thinking of our transverse abdominis. And this is a muscle, if you talk about people having a 6-pack, there is the rectus abdominis lying in front. And that's what you would see if somebody had a 6-pack. Behind it is another muscle called the transverse abdominis. And this one is one that we contract a lot in Pilates. So we're going to go to the hands and knees here. And we're going to think about pulling the belly button up and away from the spine. Hopefully we're feeling some muscle contraction there. So yeah, we're probably engaging our rectus abdominis, but we're also engaging our transverse abdominis. So again, up and away from the floor. Now notice, I'm not arching my back. It's not cat posture in yoga. I'm only using my muscles to pull up and away. So you shouldn't see my back do much of anything. From here, we've got one more exercise to really learn Pilates. And I think I'm actually going to turn so you can see what I'm doing just a little bit better here. So lying on the ground, we're going to make a triangle with our fingers. So I've got my thumbs together and I've got my index fingers together. That triangle is going to lay right on our abs, our lower abs. My fingers are on my belly button, my thumbs are on my belly button, my index fingers are pointing down toward my heels, my knees are bent. Right in that triangle is where we want to really center that abdominal pull in. So right on that triangle, think about that abdominal pull in. What this is doing is contracting all of the abdominal muscles. This is the feeling that we want as we're doing Pilates. Mixed with that Mula Bandha, we should feel the transverse abdominis go ahead and contract when we're doing this. So our entire core is locked down here with this muscle pull. There are two starting positions for the legs in Pilates. So I'm going to show both of those to you. One of the starting positions is just what I call beginning position. So we have everything locked down in the core. All of the movements are very, very intentional. When Joseph Pilates wrote this workout, he wanted every single movement made to be intentional. So instead of just doing this to come up, we're going to engage our core, engage that triangle, engage that root lock. One leg at a time comes up, trying to pull from the muscles here instead of the muscles here, the hip flexors. So we come here and we come here. It should feel harder than just swinging our legs up. So this is what I would call beginning position. A lot of exercises start here. There's also Pilates stance with the legs. Pilates stance, we take the feet up and we turn them out. So in Pilates stance, and I'm going to bring my feet down so you can see. Pilates stance, see my knees and my tops of my feet here are up toward the ceiling. We're actually going to turn them out. What that does is puts the work in our core instead of in our legs. So we want that turn out idea. Anytime we go to Pilates stance, we go from beginning position. So again, we're not just doing this. We're engaging, beginning position, extend, turn out. To come out of it, turn in, lower, and lower. If lowering 2 feet at a time hurts your back, because it can put some strain on the back, simply one leg at a time. The feet are pointed, but you don't have to point like a ballerina. You can relax the toes. So if you think about how Barbie's foot looks in her shoe, she's got her toes flexed a little bit, but her foot pointed just like I am. That's about where we want to be. We can relax the toes, but point through the ankle. All right, so a lot of times you'll hear a Pilates instructor say, scoop the abs. What we're doing is we're just thinking about the contraction that I described. So belly button pulling in, all of the muscles below the belly button pulling in, and it creates the feeling of kind of a concave abdominal area. So if you hear a Pilates instructor say scoop, that's what they're talking about. So those are the basics. If you followed along with that, you're probably ready to do a Pilates workout and understand all of the anatomical cues.